top focus at this hour. Now, the AAIB report is out on the Ahmedabad plane crash, and it paints a very unsettling picture of what went wrong with that Air India flight from Ahmedabad to London. Now, the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau has released its 15-page preliminary report on the Air India crash that took place in Ahmedabad on June 12th. And this offers the first official insight into what transpired on that fateful day. Let's take a look at the details. Now, this report examines the sequence of events and engine behavior leading to the very incident involving the Boeing 787-8 aircraft. Now, on June 12th, AI-171 flight took off from Ahmedabad airport for London's Gatwick, but the aircraft Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner crashed just a few seconds after taking off, killing all but one passenger on board. Now, here are the key takeaways from that 15-page report. First of all, both engines shut down mid-air within seconds after takeoff. Fuel cutoff switches moved from run to cutoff. This is essentially something that could answer as to what led to the crash. Fuel cutoff switches moved from run to cutoff one after the other in just a second. Now, the report revealed that the fuel supply to the engines was then cut off. Further, cockpit audio also confirms one pilot asking the another one, "Why did you cut off?" To which the other one replied, "I did not." Now, when the engines lost power, the ram air turbine, a small propeller-like device, was deployed automatically to provide emergency hydraulic power. The CCTV footage obtained by AAIB also shows that being deployed. Visuals on your screen also showing you that. Now, another finding is that the pilots did try to restart the engine. N1 or the engine 1 was partially recovered in the process, but the engine 2 failed to recover before the impact. Now, the aircraft was airborne for only 32 seconds and it crashed 0.9 nm from the runway into a hostel. Further, thrust levers found at idle, but the black box shows takeoff thrust was still engaged, suggesting a disconnect or failure at the point. Now, according to the report, fuel tested clean and there was no contamination from refueling sources. Further, flap setting were normal for the takeoff according to the findings. No bird activity or weather issues were also detected. Clear skies, good visibility, light winds, everything in that aspect was all right. Now, the AAIB report also said that the credentials of the pilots were clear. Both were medically fit. They were well rested with adequate experience on the type. Now, according to the report, now let's understand this. I'm being joined by Kartikeya Sharma on this. He's the Deputy Managing Director. Kartikeya, the bigger question now is, now that we have the initial findings, how did the mid-air, the fuel cutoff happen? You know, because we understand from the audio that the one co-pilot did ask the other one, "Did you cut off?" And the other one replied, "No." So if that was not done manually, how could it have happened?
You see, if you go through the report, it clearly says that the switches seem to be moved. You know, when I say switches seem to be moved, this is something which is part and parcel of an aircraft where when you park it, you kill the engine switch. When you take off, you put it on, because it immediately ensures that the fuel doesn't go to the engines. Now, the important aspect is, if I take you to the report, which both of us have accessed, it is telling us that you know, during the conversation, one pilot had asked, which you informed our viewers, that what happened to the switch. Now, when he's saying what happened to the switch, the other pilot says that he didn't do it. So one Air India report is hinting at the fact that the engines could not operate to its maximum because there was no power. Now, if we look at this preliminary report, it means that if the engine could not operate to its maximum, there was no power. It means that this was either because of human error, because you need to pull the switch up. You need to pull the switch up, and you need to pull them in a way that then you can turn it to the left or right. But in this context, it's not clear how did this happen. So that is something which I would say needs to be clarified. Secondly, if you go through the report, this entire report which we have, it has us, it has gone into the details like owner and operator, pilot, extent of injuries, co-pilot, extent of injuries, person on board, data and time of accident, place of accident, coordinates of accident site, last point of departure, intended landing place, type of operation, phase of operation. Now, these have gone into the details of everything. Then it has gone into the maintenance check. Let's go through the report one by one. Then the report talks about damages. Then it talks about wreckage and impact. For example, it talks about the distributed in an area approximately 1,000 feet by 400 feet. So that's the spread of the wreckage. Then it talks about the takeoff incline. Then it also talks about how they went about and how they actually collected the evidence, because you have to reconstruct the chain of event. Then they went, this report is so exhaustive. It's going into every detail. For example, total flying experience on type, PIC on type, experience during last 180 days, personal information. Then it clarified the meteorological information. Then the report also talk about what happened on that fateful last couple of minutes. Then it gets into the progress of the investigation, and let me take you uh, to the most important aspect. At this stage of investigation, there are no recommended action to B7787 and or GE B1 engine operators and manufacturers. This is very important. Investigation is continuing, and investigating team will review and examine additional evidence, records, information for being sought from the stakeholders. Then it says the wreckage site activity, including drone photography, have been completed and the wreckage has been moved to secure area near the airport. Both engines were retrieved from the wreckage site and the quarantined at the hangar in the airport. Component of interest for further examination have been identified and quarantined. Fuel samples taken from the browsers